Hello there, you're watching WilhelMiniatures, and today it's Bloodborne time. Let's take a look at the miniatures in the box. They are super detailed and yeah, they really capture the Bloodborne aesthetic. By the way, me and Rebecca did like a 1 hour long unboxing video where we unboxed everything we got in the pledge, which is 12 boxes of miniatures, 12 huge boxes. I think it was over 250 miniatures. So if you would like to check that out, you can follow this banner thingy-thing. They have some mold lines that goes through the entire thing, and one problem with the mold lines is actually the plastic that these are made of. The plastic is much softer than what I'm used to. It's not like Games Workshop plastic, which is very hard. You can see that it's super flexible, which makes it very hard to scrape in it. You can see that when I scrape a line down here, I don't really remove the mold line, I just roughen up the surface. So instead, I have to use a file, which is, you know, fine, but it takes longer, I think. And it's a little bit more fiddly because, yeah, my files are not as nice as my X-Acto blades. I haven't done these 4 yet, but I've done most of the other miniatures in the core box. That's just the core game, so that's like 30-something miniatures. So we have a lot of boxes left to do, but I think I want to do them one box at a time or one expansion at a time. First, I would very much like to have this core box ready so that we can start playing the game. One thing that I noticed very quickly when working on these is that they have a lot of bent pieces. Very many of the pieces are warped. But this was actually very easy to fix because the material is very flexible, but it's also very easy to like reshape it if you get some heat on it. What I've done with the others is just use a hairdryer for it. After hitting it with a hairdryer, you can see that it's suddenly super flexible. It does jump back quickly, but not all the way back. But the biggest issue for me with this game is of course that all of these 4 miniatures are identical, and that's the same with every unit in the box. So I want to fix this. I don't want like identical miniatures in my collection. So what I'm going to do is to keep one as it is, because yeah, I just need to change the other 3 to make them all individual, and then see how I can change them simply. Of course, they are not like the coolest miniatures in the game, these 3, so I'm not going to spend too much time on them. But I think a start is to have a different angle on the arm. That's probably the simplest thing to do. And these pieces are, I'm not sure what kind of plastic it is, but I don't think you can use plastic glue on it or regular plastic cement because it's this type of soft plastic, maybe a type of resin. So I think super glue is the way to go. That's of course what I usually use anyway, so for me that's fine, but it's definitely worth noting. So this one is the original, and you can see that just by doing this, kind of make them all individual instead of looking like the exact same character. Here I've mixed up a 50-50 mix of green stuff and milliput, which I will use to fill the gaps. And I'm going to use a little bit of hand cream that I like to place on the back of my hand to have it accessible so that I can lubricate my tool a little bit before using it so that it doesn't stick to the putty, because even though I mixed the green stuff with the milliput, it's still a very sticky putty. So I'm just going to smooth it out basically, but I can also add a few wrinkles here and there just to mimic the texture that's already on it. The church giants are among the nicest miniatures in the set. Of course, as with the other miniatures, you get 4 identical ones, so I want to give them a bit more personality. I also think the bases are way too small for a miniature in this size. I like to keep one as it's supposed to be, but I have started to work on the other 3. So mainly I have cut off a piece of the axe on all of them, so they all have slightly different weapons. And I've also worked a bit on giving them new hats or different hats. So this one's got a bit more of a top hat, and this one has actually got a completely new hat that tilts the other way, which is also a bit bigger. And I think again that just doing these small changes really help the look of these miniatures. Sadly, these are cast in one piece, so it's not possible to snap off the base they have. We need to trim it off. So we basically need to cut away the base, at least the base rim, to be able to fit it onto a new one. There, that looks much better, I think. I have this plastic putty that I haven't used for years. I think it's pretty similar to liquid green stuff, except for the fact that it comes in this handy tube. So let's see if we can use that for the seams. Maybe. Ugh. I'm not sure if this is a product I would recommend, but I think it does its job. Maybe if I have a brush with some water on it, I can try to control it a bit. So, I don't think this is going to be my new go-to product for filling gaps, but it was quicker than using green stuff. And yeah, I think it did the job well. Anyway, I've already reposed some of these. I think this was the original, and I have moved the heads, the arms, just a little bit mostly. You can see the back legs there. And what I did was actually just using a hair dryer to bend the pieces and force them into a new location. The one with the biggest pose change, I think, is this one, where I actually cut off one of the legs to have the back pointing leg forward and vice versa. So yeah, here I also added a strain of green stuff to replicate the fabric part. The same can be said for the lesser beasts, or like the regular beasts you find all around Yarnum. Yes, so these are the 2 classic ones, the ones you get 4 of each of. So first let's have the unhooded one. Here I actually move the arms around a little bit using the hairdryer and also snipping off some joints and gluing them back in slightly different poses. But more importantly, I actually green stuffed a little on these ones' faces because they are wrapped in either some wraps or skin, or I'm not sure what it is. But I think it looks quite nice to change them up a little bit. Next up are the huntsmen. These are like the most common enemy in Yarnum. And originally these guys had like knurling bases. I'll find a picture of how they looked before I cut them up and put it somewhere on here. So basically they all shared a base, or 3 and 3 of them shared one base. And I kind of don't like the look of that when you have miniatures this big. Then I much prefer it that they have individual bases. So, alright, for example, this guy, I changed him into a few different versions here, giving him a lantern instead of a flame thing. And I also changed the pose completely on this one, and gave this one an axe. The last of the common enemy types are the brick trolls. Which I've already changed quite a lot, because I really did like the miniatures of these ones. There were some super nice miniatures in the box, but these ones just didn't work for me. So I'll put up a picture of the original one, and you can have a look. I really like this one, where I actually changed out the brick, or added a cross on the top of the brick to have it hitting you with a gravestone instead, because this brick is massive. So here I have an old brush and my nasty pot of Mod Podge, and here I have both garden dirt, which is this one, and some sand of different grain sizes in the other. I'm just going to vary the textures a bit. This one is of course the ones that I changed the base size on, so I need a quite thick layer around the edge of the base to make it look natural, and for that it's good to use the dirt, I think. Now that I have a layer of texture all over the base, I'm going to add some cobblestones. So here I'm just grabbing my tweezers, and I will put some random pieces of this cardboard around on the base like this. When it comes to the 4 bosses, I haven't really done much. The only thing I've done is some gap filling here and there, and also trying to make some new textures with liquid green stuff. I also applied liquid green stuff to try to hide seam lines, because some of the mold lines and stuff on these larger ones were very hard to reach, especially when they run through the fur. So instead of removing it completely, I kind of just slapped on some paint, and I'm hoping for the best. Before painting, I also want to customize my hunters a little bit. The one that I'm going to use in the game, I think, is this one with the cannon and the cane, because I think that's a ridiculous combination. But I think I want her to have the Master's Iron Helm, which looks like this. It's basically just a bucket with a hole in it, and I think that's a very cool design on a helmet, so I think I'm going to try to sculpt it for her. The helmet will of course be extremely tiny, so I'm just going to trim down her head to get like a bucket shape to make it easier to sculpt the helmet on top of. Alright, I think that's a good size and shape for the bucket. So let's place a hole for the eye. And I think it's not in the middle, but it's pretty centered. Maybe there, yes, I think that's a good place. There we have it. That looks quite cool. With the cane, she actually looks quite a lot like the NPC you meet with this one. So yeah, I think it's going to be cool to play this one in the game. I actually really like that helmet that I sculpted. Now I just have to base my hunters, and I'm using some regular garden dirt or garden earth. For this, I actually just picked some new one, which is super nice. Makes a really muddy texture when mixing it with Mod Podge. So yeah, this is the last miniatures I have to base before I can start painting. We just started a new Bloodborne run as well, so what would be very fun is to kind of paint the miniatures or paint the bosses as we progress the game. So that would be something something to do in some way, so you can expect to see the Cleric Beast or Father Gascoigne painted very soon. Because I'm not sure about how many Bloodborne videos I will do. I'm going to have to see how well they are received, because this is of course, everyone loves Bloodborne, I have no doubt about that, but Bloodborne the board game might be a little narrow compared to doing Games Workshop things or my own original stuff, but we'll see how well it goes, and if you like it, I will do more. So yeah, let me know in the comments below if you want to see more Bloodborne content on the channel, or yeah, which bosses you're looking forward to see me paint, or if you have tried to play the game. Again, I want to finish all the miniatures in the core game before I start playing it, before we try it out. So it's still going to take a little while before we can play it, but I hope we can do it sometime this summer. I think that would be fun. All right, I will see you all in the next episode. Goodbye.